What's up, guys? This is Andrew. I get this question probably more than any other question in my DMs, right? Like, will this work for me if I had a microdiscectomy? What about a spinal fusion? I had a laminectomy. Like, is my situation different? And look, I get why you're asking because you've probably already tried things that didn't work. Maybe a professional even made it worse, right? So before you invest any more time, any more energy, any more hope into something new, you want to know, is this actually for me? And that's a fair question. And I'm going to give you a real answer, not just a it depends answer, not a liability driven non answer, a real one. So first, before I get into that, let me tell you where I'm coming from because I haven't had surgery, but I've been in that place where you feel completely stuck and you don't even know if anything is ever going to work, right? So in 2021, I herniated a disc deadlifting and I did everything right after, right? The physio, the stretches, I rested it, avoided everything that they told me to avoid, right? Or at least everything I was told was right, right? I thought I did everything. So 6 weeks in, my physio had me deadlift again, and that set me back so far, I couldn't sit more than 5 seconds without shooting pain down my leg. 5 seconds, maybe even less. Like I couldn't tie my shoes in the morning, couldn't bend forward to pick something off the floor. The first steps out of bed every single morning, shooting pain down my leg before I even made it to the bathroom. And I quit leg day completely. Like I couldn't sit through a lecture, I couldn't sit at my desk, I definitely couldn't sit on a couch. Soft surfaces were somehow worse. And every single person I saw, the physios, the doctors, online stuff, they all said the same thing, right? Avoid this, don't round your back, brace your core, protect it. So I did for months, and I just kept getting worse. But the thing that no one told me was like all that avoiding, all that, avoiding movements that hurt, just don't bend forward, don't sit. It wasn't protecting my back. It was just keeping my nervous system convinced that my back was broken, right? So every time I braced, every time I avoided bending, every time I moved like I was made of glass, I was sending my brain the same signal over and over again. This is dangerous. Don't move. Stay guarded. And your nervous system listens, right? It keeps your muscles tight. It keeps you guarded. It keeps the pain signals firing. Not because there's structural damage happening, but because it never got the message that movement is safe again. Nobody taught it that. I only figured this out because I tried literally everything else. Every stretch, every treatment, every piece of advice the internet had to offer, and I was still stuck. So I thought, if everyone's telling me not to strengthen my back directly, maybe that's exactly what I need to do. Because think about it. Like if you tear your ACL, you rebuild the knee, you strengthen your quad. If you hurt your shoulder, you rebuild the shoulder, right? You're strengthening your rotator cuff. So why is the back the only thing? It's the one place that everyone tells you to avoid loading completely. So I started slowly, carefully, direct low back strengthening. And for the first time in months, first time in years, things started to change. Not because I fixed the disc or my diagnosis, but because I finally started teaching my body that movement wasn't the enemy, right? Now you might be sitting there thinking, okay, but I've actually had surgery. That's different. And structurally, sure, like let's acknowledge that. A microdiscectomy, they go in and remove part of the disc that's pressing on the nerve. A discectomy, similar, removing disc material to take pressure off. And a spinal fusion, they fuse two or more vertebrae together, permanently changing how that segment of your spine moves. And a laminectomy or laminotomy, removing part of the bone to create more space for the nerves. So yes, these are different surgeries, different structures, different recovery timelines. I'm not going to pretend they're all the same thing, but here's what is the same thing across every single one of them. You come out on the other side with, one, a back that's weaker than it was before, and two, a nervous system that's been through trauma, literal surgery. Like your body doesn't know the difference between surgery and trauma, and it's still in protection mode. And nobody, not your surgeon, not your PT, not your discharge papers, gave you a structured plan to rebuild your capacity and actually teach your nervous system it's safe to move again. And that's the common thread, not the surgery type, not the diagnosis, that. So here's what I see over and over again with people who've had surgery and are still in pain. The surgery did its job. It fixed the structure. It removed the pressure, stabilized the segment, decompressed the nerve. The surgeon did what they were trained to do, but nobody addressed what happens next. Because your nervous system doesn't know if surgery was successful. It just knows your body went through something traumatic. So it stays guarded. It keeps the muscles tight, keeps interpreting movement as a threat. And you end up in the cycle, right, where you feel okay, so then you try to do more. And then you flare up, so that you pull back, and you just repeat over and over again. And you just start to think, like, maybe I'm just one of those people who doesn't recover. But you're not, right? Your nervous system just never got taught that it's safe to come out of protection mode. That's not a structural problem. That's a capacity and nervous system problem. And that is fixable. So, will this work for your situation? If you had a microdiscectomy and you're still in pain 6 months later, yes. If you had a fusion and you feel stiff, guarded, and like you're walking on eggshells, yes. If you had a laminectomy and PT ended and you're just kind of floating with no real plan, yes. Because what we're addressing isn't your surgery, it's your capacity, it's your nervous system. It's the fact that nobody gave you a structured, progressive rebuild that gradually loaded your spine back to handling real life. The surgery type matters for your surgeon. For the rebuild, what matters is where you are right now and building from there. Step by step, no guessing, no random exercises from YouTube, a structured progression that teaches your body and your nervous system that movement is safe again, that strength is possible again, that you're not fragile. And I want to leave you with this, right? Like, the goal isn't to fix your surgery. The goal isn't even to have a perfect MRI. The goal is to get to a point where you don't think about your back anymore, where you can sit through dinner with your family, drive to your kid's game without shifting in your seat every 10 minutes, travel, work, living, without your back being the first thing you think about in the morning and the last thing you think about at night. That's what's possible. Not because the disc necessarily healed, but because you rebuilt your capacity and your nervous system finally got the message, right? You are not your surgery, you are not your diagnosis, and you are not stuck. If any of this hit home for you, if you're sitting there like, yeah, that's exactly where I'm at, then there are 2 ways I can help. So first, I put together a free masterclass that walks you through exactly how this rebuild process works, what most people get wrong after surgery, and what the path forward actually looks like. Link is in the description. Go watch that first. Secondly, if you're ready to stop figuring this out on your own and you want a structured plan built specifically for where you're at right now, there is an application link in the description to work with me directly. And I only work with a small number of people at a time, so I can actually give this the attention it deserves. But if you're serious about this, that link is there. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.